Hi, Chad. This is Robin Winters, and I've been thinking about the curriculum for this work study program and what I would put together in lessons if I were to get the opportunity to teach this class. So I put together an overview for you on a Google Docs that I'm going to share with you. So you'll see I'm going to share this Google Docs with you that's going to give you an outline of this course. The lessons are pulled from two different curriculums that are from social emotional learning programs. The first is the Cognitive Learning Center's Adolescent Behavioral Health Program, which is an empirically proven program and currently in review of neuroscience research with the National Institute of Neuroscience and Neurosurgery. You can find out more about this on the CLC website. You'll see right on the website more about the adolescent program, as well as some testimonials from youth that have been through the program. Then I'm also going to share a folder with you that's going to give you some lessons. These are pre-recorded lessons that are already in the program, and you can get an idea of what this will look like. So just simply click on one. I picked this one, the amygdala hijack, and you can get in there and see that these are full of lessons in the brain science, and that with each curriculum, not only are there lessons, but then followed up by a cognitive practice. Now, this is a pre-recorded program. I would use the same outline material with the PowerPoints to deliver this curriculum. So you can get in there and kind of see what that curriculum looks like just by playing any one of those lessons that are in that program. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to close that tab. Now, the other thing that you will see this curriculum entails is the GOOD Project. This is a really great program through the Graduate School of Education of Harvard, and they put together these resources that is work-ready resources, training those kids that are looking for college preparation, but then also work experience, right? And it's called the GOOD Project. And so this curriculum is weaved in here, and it's got really great instances of not just work, but how do we change our perspectives to our reality of our ability to focus on good work and whatever work that we're doing. So I really like this curriculum. I think it works well with the behavioral health lessons. And so you can get in here and kind of look at what I have outlined. I have this ready to go starting next week. I could literally step in and start teaching this curriculum as early as next week. And so it would start with introducing the class. And from there, we would go straight into learning a little bit about behavioral health, cognitive learning, and patterns of learning, trying to understand a little bit about why we do the things that we do, and explaining the science of why that's important in our successes and no matter what we do in our work life, in our home life, and in everything that we want to do and be in the world. So we're going to go into behavioral sciences of what is good work from the Harvard curriculum, the excellence, ethics, and engagement. And then we're going to get into stress. What is stress and the fight, flight, freeze? And a lot of these kids are under pressure today with all the things that they are facing in today's world of uncertainty. And COVID did not help that. And we really want these kids to understand, particularly this group of students that are the higher achieving, very goal-oriented kids that may be having trouble with focus right now and not really understanding why they may be having the struggles with the ability to focus. So we're really going to kind of delve into that in this curriculum. Then we're going to switch back and forth between creating vision boards, work-related instances, to understanding the neuroscience of how we perceive things and even digest food. We're going to have a fun little exercise before Thanksgiving break. to talk about our vagus nerve and our gut and our neurons and how that relates to our behaviors. Then coming back from that, we're going to get into identifying values, understanding what mission statements are and how to develop a mission statement. And then we'll roll into having some fun with that before we go into the holidays and really kind of supporting the kids around the stress that can come with the middle of the end of the second quarter, middle of the year closing, and all the holidays stress and what all that entails. Then we get into the coming back from Christmas break. So we're going to delve into introduction to brain science, really starting to understand more a little bit about the brain, how we get information and how that drives our behavior so that we can be more in control over our responses and our emotions. So we're going to really learn a lot about that in this semester, and identifying what are mentors and how do we learn and grow from experiences of those that aren't quite as mentoring as we would like them to be, and or an anti-mentor. And then we're going to get into understanding relationships between values and missions, and how do we perceive other information and have compassion for others through mirrored neurons. Why do we have emotions? Where does Ekman's 6 emotions fall into all of this? And then we're going to get into some personal reflection and self-compassion, because it starts with self and extends outside of self. Then we're going to learn a little bit about top-down, bottom-up processing, how this affects our behaviors, our moods, our ability to have emotional control, and or the ability to focus. And then the default brain, what's happening when we have that ruminating brain, when we get stuck in a freeze, how do we begin to recognize those things so that we can focus on our goal orientation of what it is we want to do and be and achieve in the world. And then we'll end that semester with the importance of passion and care for work. And oh, sorry, that's not the end. We're just getting into the next page here, but we're going to really get into passion at this point. Have fun with Lego creativity, building ideas of what is something that feels good in the world. And what is good leadership? Having some guest speakers, hopefully, that could come in and do some guest speaking for us, particularly Hispanic leadership. And what is mindful communication? How do you have communication in those difficult situations? And also recognize when you're being the one that is difficult. We all want to be heard, but how do we listen in order to be heard? And then we're going to get into creating an elevator pitch. How do you present yourself? No matter what it is that you do in the world, you are going to be in a position that you will have to create a pitch of some sort, whether it's yourself or your work or whatever that is. What is a pitch and how do you put together one? And then we're going to go into, hopefully, if I can in this course, have a couple of field trips where we can go on some retreat-like days, where we just take a day, we go out and we have a nature experience. And all of this curriculum, we're going to be learning coping mechanisms that are based in mindfulness-based stress reduction and cognitive behavioral therapy. And we're going to take a day of really reflecting in those practices in a retreat-like setting. So I'd like to do that before the end of that third semester, before we go on spring break. Take that time and that day to really kind of have delving in practice day. And then you get into the last quarter. What I want to try to do with this is really understand trauma. This is the trauma-informed education that kids are needing and wanting to talk about in this time of what we're living in today. And so we're going to really look at what is trauma in the brain, what is workplace stress and secondary trauma, because whether it is in social work or first responders work or medical work or corporate work, in all places of work, you can get secondary trauma in the workplace. And what is that? And what does it look like? And moreover, what do you do with it to have resiliency skills around that? So we're going to really play with that and have guest speakers around that if we're allowed to do that. And do some kind of role playing with dilemmas and resiliency and how we have different dilemmas that we're dealing with. Then we're going to get into addictive behaviors. What drives addictive behaviors? Most of these kids have had health classes at this point, so they've learned a little bit about drugs and that drugs are bad. But a lot of the health curriculum that's out there does not delve into the science behind what drives addictions and really what are the triggers and the pieces that make individuals more susceptible to an addictive behavior in the first place, whether it is a substance or a behavioral. So we're going to kind of learn about the differences of the two and why we are driven to have those so that we can have coping mechanisms that are healthier, and we can also override when we can recognize if we are having an addictive behavior of some sort. So we'll get into why we need relationships in humans and why we have biases. This is a scientific thing. What creates biases in humans? How do we begin to understand that? And the first step to sustainable change is awareness for that. Then I'd like to, if possible, take the kids on a field trip with the Kind Hub. I spend a day of kindness and giving back and understanding the science behind why compassionately getting into giving is something that is good for us and it makes us feel good. So ending the end of the year and the semester with coming back around to understand that the science shows us that success begins with the ability to focus. And yet, how do you begin to focus when it's a difficult and challenging thing for you to do? So what's organization? What's organization in the brain? Because they are similar and different, and you can't begin to get more physically focused unless you're not in the right mental capacity to be able to have focus. And it's important to have both. So we're going to learn a little bit about that. And then we're going to come back to, at the beginning of the semester, we put together kind of a vision board. And then in the semester with, what does that vision board look like? Did it change? Did your perspective change? Learning the science behind all of this in this class. And then hopefully we can go on one last retreat at the end of the school, go to a farm or up to El Dorado Springs or something delving in nature, really hitting home again, those life skills and tools that they'll be learning in this class to be able to live a happier, healthier, more productive and successful work, career, and life. So that's kind of the curriculum in a nutshell. And I hope I get the opportunity to present this maybe in person and or come in and teach a short class on one of these lessons so that you get an idea of what this might look like. All right, thanks for your time, and I hope you have a great afternoon.